All right. Well, don't look behind the curtain. The cat has given away the Wizard of Oz curtain there. The curtain. Do not look behind the curtain. Uh, Nothing to see there. Just Wizard Oz things. Don't worry about it. How are we doing, ladles and jelly spoons? I hope we are doing wonderful. I see Divide by Zero. I see Ollie the Pufferfish. I see Claire H. I see my kitty. Hi, kitty. What are you doing? What are you doing? You're causing trouble. Kitty's causing trouble. She's being a trouble causer. And there's a really good chance tonight that she is going to take down the green screen behind me. There's a real good chance that, yes, that is what she will do, because she's been climbing up it and she's been chewing on it and she's been causing all sorts of little kitten fuffles. And you can see her pupils, they're giant, right? So that means that she is not necessarily in like serious hunting mode. She's in, I'm just going to mess everything up mode. So go do that way. And let's get on with today's festivities. You guys know what holiday it is? How's it going? USMC, good to see you. Good to know we've got some vets in here, I'm assuming. If we can't have like aquarium vets, at least we can get some like, military vets in here. Also, Nirvana Aquatics, what's going on? I hope. Yes, saucer eyes. Yes, I call them crazy eyes. It's one of those, I go out walking after midnight with my crazy eyes. In college, we had to make like a 2-minute film or something showing that we understood like the rule of thirds, and that we understood the golden ratio and contrast. It was like a list of things that basically showed like, okay, we get the sheer most basic part of like framing a shot and cinematography and control of the camera, right? And we didn't like have to have a plot, but I thought they were going to be really boring if we didn't have a plot. So I had the plot of, it was that Patsy Cline song, Walking After Midnight. And it was a very cute, blonde, little petite girl who was like 5'3", and she's hitchhiking down the road. And she's kind of, like, at the time, this is like 2005 or so. So kind of like the hipster scenester, with the pearls and the like emo kind of vibe at the, anyways. So she looked pretty innocent. And then she gets in the car, and like the whole thing, the suspense is kind of like that it's going to be not safe for her to get picked up. Like there's like these little montages of 5-second scenes of like dead animals on the road and cars passing by with like really creepy people kind of like looking out the window at her. And finally this creeper, like the worst of all, creepy looking guy, older guy, picks her up, and then like it ends with her pulling out a knife, like she's the killer. Very, very unexpected. I'm sure no college student has ever done that before in that class. I'm sure I was totally original. How are we doing, you guys? Yeah, we call it foreshadowing in the biz. That's right. So, yeah, don't forget to like. I do appreciate that. We get more folks coming by here. We get more folks alerted. I don't expect people to share live streams and stuff. I know that you become that person who's sharing live streams, and they're like probably ignored by a lot of your friends. Unless it's once in a blue moon or something that's really worthwhile, like something that you think's relevant to several people. But if you do know somebody that you're like, hey, I haven't talked to my buddy Bob, who's over in Denver, and I'm in New York, and we never chat, but I think he loves aquariums. Like bring him on in, bring Bob in, and tell Bob he's welcome here. Bob, of course, we will welcome him, and we will say that he's one of us. we'll totally like lure him in with false security, and then we can sacrifice Bob to the fish. So yeah. Asya, what's going on? Jeff Kane, good to see you, sir. Stan Pittman, it's better than Piston Sitman. I don't know why that's better, but Redneck Aquatics, what's going on? Bambi McCluskey, what's going on? Joseph Ariando, hello, brother. So glad to see you. Just got home from another major back surgery. Hope your health is improving. You're always in my prayers. Thank you so much, Jose. I don't know why I wanted to say Jose. Joseph, thank you, man. I'm sorry to hear about your back surgery. I know how it goes. I've had three spine surgeries, 4 back surgeries, and a whole lot of like cortisone injections, if you want to count the thing where they like line up your spine in the machine, and also like lidocaine, and I've had all that stuff, and then 2 fusions and 2 bolts, and then they had to take out part of the actual vertebrae, the side of 2 vertebrae at L5 S1 and L4 L5. But man, I feel you. It's a tough road. I hope though that whatever they did in there, they rattled some things right. That is going to help you. And I hope that the recovery goes pretty smooth. I was shocked with a few of my back surgeries. I was literally, okay, this is going to bug me. Hold on, guys. Let's see if we can get this a little closer. The green screen. There we go. Okay. So, I was shocked with my surgeries in that I thought, oh man, the surgery is going to hurt. I'm going to be sore the next day. And my back was in so much pain for so many years that I literally, the scar, like the cut incision, all that stuff was no big deal. So I hope that it goes that way for you, that like, it's nothing but uphill from here. So hang in there. 3G, what's going on? Thank you so much for the super sticker. I really appreciate that. 3G with a super sticker. Stuck to the heart in your true vein. You give stickers a pretty good name. So there's lots of news in the fish world. Some of them I was like, hey, I should do some fishery episodes and all that. And then I was like, no, I should do some standalone episodes. But I'm a little bit at a loss in that, I'm frustrated right now in that no matter what I do, I'm still in love with you. No matter what I do, unfortunately, the channel is just alerting. Like the other day, I made a video, right? A standalone video. 4,000 of you is all that got alerted out of 85,000 subscribers. That's seeing the thumbnail. That's exposures. And out of that, 50% of you clicked on it, which is phenomenal rate. That's like out of this world. And I have a theory, even though I don't want to, we won't dwell on this because I don't care anymore. I'm just going to keep soldiering through since I couldn't be working right now full time anyways. So might as well be doing a YouTube channel and just, do as much as I can. But what they said was, like that, when you post and then when you buy promotional things. So you say, I want this to go out to more people. And I did try this like 6 months or a year ago, or however long it was now, I guess. It was right after I was in the hospital. So it was last September. And I spent $200 on one video trying to just see what Google's ad campaign does. Well, that video made $280. Most of my videos make like 30 or 40 bucks. So I was like, wow, it actually kind of made more money. But then I realized as soon as I stopped paying them for videos, it falls off a cliff, like worse than it was before you even paid them. And they kind of, I think since they don't even know, they admit they don't know. I think they throttle back, their AI throttles back the amount of visits that it's sending your way in hopes that that will incentivize you to get more, because they've admitted that their model is centered around first profit, but then around creating authoritative sources of knowledge that are the most interconnected and linked. That's like what YouTube claims their goals are. And they put that into a machine and basically say, get that, however it happens, get that to happen. And if that's the case, I think that might be why. So I'm a little bit hesitant to work on any big project videos for you guys, because a lot of people have been coming to me and being like, Alex, I haven't seen you post anything in like 2 months. Are you okay, man? I know your health's not good. And I'm like, I've posted a video or two every week at least, and we've done 2 live streams every week except for one. Which, yeah, that's just it's, that part's frustrating, because I don't want people to think that I'm like giving up on the channel or something. Like that's my big fear, is just that the people that do care and want to be here, out of sight, out of mind, and then they'll think that like I'm not even doing it anymore or something. So anyways, I'm here, and I will be here, and I commit to at least another 6 months of insanity. No, I'm sure it'll be longer than that. So Redneck Aquatics came in with another super sticker. We got super stickers all over the place coming in here, you guys. I really appreciate that, sir. Stan Pittman with the $5 super sticker. Thank you so much. Show off. 3G says you gotta outdo each other with the super stickers, right? Isn't that how that works? I think that's how that works in like the big chats. Like, there's big channels where literally like you don't get your comment read because there's like 800 people or 2,000 people in the live stream, and you don't even get read. Like, you can't ask a question unless you throw down $10 or $20. I hope that never happens here. All right, let's see here. Layla Castillo or Costello. What's going on? I think it's Castillo. I just set up a 29-gallon, no fish yet, just some sand and Anubias in it's funny, it corrected her Anubis as the god of Egypt. It's Anubius. That's fine. That's not your fault. I'm sure it's the computer. In it set up about 2 weeks ago. Haven't done any other water changes. Started to get healthy grassy smell. Do I do water changes? So what you want to do is, a week or two into having your aquarium, if you've put your plants in it, did you say you got a little bit of Anubias? So Anubias doesn't have that much anything in it. What I would do is I would actually put either 1 or 2 hardy fish in there. It's a 29-gallon. That's pretty big. You could actually probably put like 3 or 4. You could start with like guppies or something. If you want guppies or neon tetras or something like that, you could always start with a little group of them, or a little group of cories, maybe even. Any of those fish are fine. A betta is fine, because those fish, they will produce a small amount of ammonia, which will keep the bacteria cycling up. Now, some people will say you need to add, people will even say you need to add urine, or you need to add like ammonia from the store for cleaning, or you need to add this, but you don't need to do that. You can just literally add a pinch of fish food every, 4 or 5 days, but just or 3 or 4 days. But you want to gravel back that kind of rotting organic food stuff after about a week, if there's like a pinch or pile of it at the bottom of your sand or something. But the easier way, honestly, is to do a fish in cycle. And that's as long as you're not using aqua soil, like ADA aqua soil. Because if you're using aqua soil, you don't have to do anything. The aqua soil will release the ammonia and the nitrites and nitrates, and that will actually, charge your bacteria and your filter. So that's kind of cool. I've been speaking with a lot of chemists and things right now in several private chat groups and stuff. Hey, Dave, welcome. Um, and Emily, welcome. James Morgan, welcome. Roy Baker, hello. Yeah, YouTube doesn't send me notifications from you, and I am a top tier subscriber. I rely on Discord for notification. Isn't that crap? That's such crap. I'm so sorry. I really am, and I don't know what to do. But that's what's disheartening about, like, when I make a video that I spend like 30 or 40 hours like between editing and researching and redoing and deciding, like, brainstorming and outlining and then crumpling that up and being like, no, this isn't what I want to do. And I never used to do that. I used to just film on the fly. Like, I'm curious about this thing. I'm going to write down notes of everything I researched on the fly in a couple days, and then I'll just kind of go wing it. And that's how I used to do things. But now I'm trying to get a lot tighter with the editing. And I've noticed that that does seem to engage more people more intently. But it definitely has slowed down the amount of content that I'm producing. And I don't know people's preference, but I feel like if I'm consistent with these live streams, I'm still kind of a fire hose of information if you guys want to be chatting, asking questions, talking about whatever comes up in the back of my head versus what's on the list this week, whatever I read about, like, in my free time, because I definitely take it seriously, you guys. And the other thing I'm going to do, I decided this a while back, was good questions that I think, like, are relevant to a whole lot of people in the community. Like, oh, I see that question every few weeks or every week. Those are going to get made into their own either episode or into an episode of, like, you asked, like a you asked series or something. But yeah. Radina, thank you also. Yeah, I know some of you guys are just that loyal. You come, you look, see what new videos I've got up. Sometimes that even fails, which is really frustrating. Sometimes it doesn't show things in order, but if you make sure, it's show all, newest first, blah blah blah, then it should when you're on my actual page. But that's what's frustrating about even in the, like, for you pages and playlists and stuff, is there are weird little things that'll happen where, yeah, it's showing you everything, but sometimes it's way out of order, or they'll wait a week and they'll hold it back because so much content may have come out. Maybe you have 200 channels you like, and so it decide something. But I wish it would just not, and just do what I tell it to, because it's a computer. Like, it should be like a calculator. I punch in the thing and you do the thing. You don't give me what you think I wanted. That, and guys, before we kick off the fish news part of this stream, and hello, Steven, good to see you, buddy. Always a pleasure to have you here, my man. Before we kick off that, and KJE, good to see you too. Lovely to see everyone here that's in here. Uncle Smiley, hello. Amy, Tiffany, Aqua Garden, Zen, Cave of Wonders. Wow, people just came, like, streaming in a minute ago. Layla, hello. Who else am I missing? Okay, I think I'm. Show us your fish. There's a bag of my fish. It's a I don't know, some sort of tang. It's not in focus. I don't know. It's in a little acrylic block meant to look like a fish bag. Look at that. Wait, does it actually have water in there? No, there's not a little bubble of water. Okay, whatever. My neighbor gave me like 6 of these, and I'm like, oh, those are really cool. Thanks, man. What the hell am I ever going to do with those? So yeah, 44 viewers. Thanks, Fish Fam. Thank you so much for letting me know that I'm failing. Okay, guys, we've got some news. Wind saltwater. Yeah, right? Yeah, they need air in that bag. That's for sure. That is for sure. Punch in the thing and it does the thing. I feel like that should be on a shirt. Yeah. Let's see here. You know, I'm probably not gonna do salt water for a while, but I might do brackish water at some point. Tang in a bag, not in a glass. Yeah, that's right. Um, so I have ways of making you talk. Fish keeper ASMR. Oh, what am I doing? I don't even know how loud that even comes up. Oh, that is surprisingly loud. I apologize. I am a jerk. I am a jerk, a jerk, a jerk apocalypse. Okay, guys. So, there's some news in the world. So, we have, do we all have the same turkey baster? Yeah, probably. This is the one that's $1.99 at Kroger. And I seriously have like 12 of these in the fish room. Some of them are in different states of like, they got really warm on like a 90-degree day outside, and like now they don't really spring back. And so like those are my crap ones that can only suck up this much. And then there's a couple that like you can actually like suck it up and it'll like go all the way up into the bulb and fill like to here, up to here. And then you can fill it in like 1.5 squeezes. But anyways, ooh, a macro algae tank. Those are really cool. Okay, that is something that I would definitely do because of uh, um, Butkus. Why can't I think of his first name? Joseph? Jonathan Butkus, out of Chicago. He makes macroalgae seaweed kelp tanks look phenomenal, like 10-gallon tanks, maybe a little like harlequin shrimp, and maybe a little crab that's doing something, maybe a sea anemone or two. Like, man, he makes it look so cool. If you guys haven't seen his presentations, like, holy smokes, he sells you on the idea of that being an awesome way to get into saltwater for sure. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. Nirvana Aquatics. Serena, I agree. Like, that is, I don't like the UV tanning bed looking light. It doesn't relax me. And also, mixing up like rotifers and like, just all this junk that you have to do for a full reef tank. Like, I could have a saltwater tank and keep fish, and that would be cool. But if I want to have a reef tank with sea anemones and corals that feed, and fan corals and mushroom corals and all that stuff, it requires tech and money, time, and work. And I can't put that much into one tank right now. And I'm not into that. Like, it's pretty, it's cool, I respect it, but there's still so much I want to learn and appreciate and observe in a like way that feels like, oh, I'm just getting the hang of these things, the planted ones. Like, I'm right around 12 years into planted tanks as a serious hobby. Before that, I had some like Anubias, and I don't know, maybe I'm a Ponegeton here and there, and plastic plants here and there, and some floating plants here and there. Like, nothing serious, not using it as a filtration or biomedia or, for anything other than maybe like a spawning mop, really, or a little bit of texture. But the last 12 years I've gotten into that. And then really aquascaping 10 years ago was like when I did my internship now, well, nine years ago to 8 to 7 years ago at Aquarium Zen, off and on there. Did Iwagumi and the nature or Amano kind of vibe tanks under Steve Waldron. And, I recently also got invited by George at AFA down in San Francisco to come when they have their ADA presentation again this year, I believe. So I need to get back in contact with George and figure that piece out. But I do want to get back into a few tanks that are aquascapey, but the problem is like I like my tanks like this. I granted, if I had to sit and take a picture of a tank and submit it and say like, is this shows off my skill at trimming, understanding what pH the plants need, what chemicals they need, how much sun each type of plant needs, or lighting rather, how much CO2 needs to go on, what substrate and liquid versus root tab, and how deep are the roots of this species versus that. Are we getting it to carpet by blasting the CO2 and blasting the light, or do we want to like actually keep it a little bit out of the center of the light so it reaches? I mean, these are all things. Do you want it submerged? Do you want it a tissue culture where it still looks like it's still slightly tissue cultured, or do you want it to truly be fully settled in? Or do you want it emergent coming out like the plants here? So I think that, there's a lot you can show off in those tanks that make you go wow, with like maybe the big splotches of color, a big Dutch aquascape, and those are really to show that. But I don't need to prove that anymore. And Tom Barr, who I speak with a lot, who is a PhD in freshwater ecology and botany, he at UCLA, he is of the opinion that aquascaping brings the most people into even keeping like bettas. And I am of the opinion that that's not necessarily true, that it's a combination can draw people in, but it's also very overwhelming, and it feels like something they're doing, not something we can do when you don't know anything about it yet. And so I think honestly, having a betta, buying all the wrong things, or a goldfish, buying all the wrong things at Petco, PetSmart, having the crappy little tank, getting yelled at on the internet, if you can survive that gauntlet, I think that actually brings a lot more people in. And then when you get into breeding guppies and seeing the genetics switch around, mollies, platies, like the really easy stuff, that's where I think a lot of people get that lifelong kind of itch. And it's also like an achievable immersion. Whereas maybe with the aquariums and aquascapes that are CO2 rimless, $5,000 worth of glass, 120-gallon tank, it's incredible. I agree. Especially when you know your stuff in the aquarium hobby. But at the same time, like to make an Iwagumi tank with 3 kinds of carpeting plants, maybe 1 hair grass and 1, say, like cypress helphorite, like 1 big flowy grass in the back, and then the rest are all like baby tears, glossostigma, and let's say Monte Carlo, just for sake of ease. So say you've got that, and then you've got your 7 or 5 or 9 rocks, and maybe like some rasbora hets swimming around, and that's it. And maybe like an autosynclus and maybe a few shrimp if you're lucky. Everything's green. A lot of people would assume that that's a lot easier than the Dutch scape, or the scape that is neatly trimmed and has like bright red and purple and green. And it's actually way harder to keep a monoculture tank all over with fish, with plants, and keep algae at bay, and to keep the whole thing running, smoothly for long term. Those tanks, the thing that people don't really get about them a lot of times is that until you are very good, you are not going to find the stability in your aquascape that the pictures would have you believe is the state of how things look. A lot of those aquascapes are put together and they're literally like dioramas and things. They're fiberglass, they're clay, they're decoupage, they're all sorts of things. But then they're inserted in, and like the moss is glued on, and there's just these little tricks, and then there's the fake cloud effects in the background and backlighting it and stuff. And I'm not taking anything away from it. I think it's just a valid and beautiful form of art and science. But I don't think, for me, like, I love watching a tank like this and then being like, oh, I forgot that that little guy was still in there. I got that goby in there 3 years ago, and here he is, and he's all in his spawning colors, and he's hanging out by the heavy flow coming from my filter. And oh, look at that! I got some little fry in the top corner of this tank, and what are they? I wonder what those are going to be. And then at night, I come in with the flashlight and I'm looking around, and I see the little eyes, or, something that you just never have seen before. And yeah, for me, that's why I like them. I get, though, that there's a range between, like, this being way too jungly for a lot of people, or this. But for me, that's what allows the most surprise, the most babies. And for me, I've always, especially, I get all sentimental about it, but it's really true. Ever since my wife and I for sure found out, like, we are not having a family of our own biologically, just not going to happen. Um, I've really felt, like, emotional about my cat and my the kids in the neighborhood that, like, my friends and their kids, making sure they're okay, getting them Christmas gifts, or making sure that if they need help with school or whatever, like, that I can be as helpful as need be, or as isn't annoying. Still want to be the cool godparent or whatever. You don't want to be the lame one who's like, let's do long division, kids. But yeah, and when that extends, though, into life in my aquarium, like, even little fish, they make me feel like there's life around me, and that there's that something needs me, and that I need it too. But, like, those little critters, they need me, they rely on me. And if I don't follow through with the contract of sorts, they can't make it, especially when they're eating, like, live food or something that you need to take care of. And when they grow up, this was something that I thought about doing an episode on, and, maybe I could put words to it without having to do a ton of editing. But, when you lose a fish, you don't just lose the fish, you lose the hours that you remember spending raising that tank, the hours learning new things about that fish, the time when you're unsure and you're anxious, that stress, whether it's good stress, bad stress of, like, I want this tank to be cycled, come on, hurry up, that's a stress. Well, so is, I want these babies to grow faster, but that's good stress. But at the same time, it's just like if you lose a cat or a dog, you have the loss of that creature, of that physical companion. But you also, and with fish, this is what people don't think about in the larger world outside of the hobby, is you have sometimes years of your life, and you think, like, that's when my wife divorced me and it was just me alone on the couch, or that's when I first got married and we had our first kid, or that's when my mother was having trouble with this health condition, and every day was rough, but I came home and I just vegged out and I looked at that tank and that Oscar or angelfish or whatever. Yeah, I think that I think that's why we care about the fish in a certain way. But anyways, Terry LaPierre, what's going on? How are you? Sunny G, what's going on? And David Curie, hello. How's it going, lad? This wee lad is getting rather fat. Anyways, no, I have a shirt on from the Pasco Aquarium Society and Pasco County down in Florida. It's worn through, like, the decal of their sailfin -cistrus or whatever it is worn through, and that makes me sad because I really like this shirt, even though the back of it is kind of a chaos fest. I don't know if can you guys see that? There's, like, way too many graphics and words and things on the back of it, but as a graphic designer, that's a pet peeve of mine. I'll let it go, though. 2K17, what's going on? Legend OC Flip, What are you drinking? Doesn't look like Dr. Pepper. Well, that's where you are wrong. It's extreme dinosaur Dr. Pepper. Ah! It is Dr. Pepper cherry, not dark cherry, not black cherry, cherry. I have no idea where my mom got it. She got 3 packs of it like a month ago, and I crack one open for streams every once in a while because it's like a reward for my day of I don't know, whatever, actually doing the stream. But yeah, the movie has gone overboard. I heard, yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna stay away from commenting on that movie. Yeah. But I need to go see it. It's just the whole idea of a Doctor Island of Moreau, Island of Dr. Moreau. I don't know, like having an island of misfit dinosaurs that were genetically modified. Dude, dinosaurs are freaking cool. You don't need to like genetically modify them into zombies or whatever. Like, I don't know. I'll have to see it before I pass judgment. But when I heard that, I was like, what? There are so many cool dinosaurs. There's like 200 million years of dinosaurs and lizards and, crocodiles and all these things. Uh, I don't get it. Alex, how many plants are in the tanks behind you? A lot. These are old pictures, actually. Look at see the graininess. This is a green screen. This picture is old. I actually should get a new one because my current tank is actually very lush and beautiful over there. It's very bright. I've got better pictures. I just I don't have them loaded on this computer at the moment. But yeah, Gachel, what's going on? How's it going? Oh, what's up? That's the whole premise of Jurassic Park. They aren't dinosaurs. They're genetically engineered, the park monsters. Okay, yeah, all right. Okay, technically, yeah. I'll give you that. I'll give you that, man. I'll give you that. Joey Lowell, hello. Yeah, I know. They're technically like brought back from amber, and I know the little DNA strand, and oh, we did this and this, and that's why they're like actually unhinged and like they eat everyone or whatever. Because real dinosaurs are actually very friendly, but these freak monster ones that they brought back, so mean. But no, I don't add any of these. No water changes, no fertilizers on these tanks anymore. I was adding potassium, but the last 2 times I've added potassium, which was 3 months ago and 6 months ago, I had about a month growth of algae on the front glass. So I just stopped. So now it's been 3 months ago was the last time that I put 2 squirts of a ADA bottle of potassium, which is hardly anything. It's like shocking that threw anything off. I'm really shocked by that. And Adam, I'm hanging in there. I was wondering why your angelfish was just not moving. Yeah, these angelfish from, I think this picture is like 3 years old now. These were the black and blue ones from Ukraine. That's how old that picture is when they came in. And then they all passed away. That was such a freaking bummer. I've had some bad yeah, I hear you on that one, Serena. There's a few plants of mine that like just really want potassium and never have enough of it. And everything else they seem to like have enough of from food. And if I feed live food, I'll end up seeing that there are deficiencies. But when I feed like the flake food, never am I low on phosphates or nitrates or any of that stuff. Like the processed food, hate it, love it, like it, whatever. Don't care either way. But it does one thing. It does is it definitely doesn't break down fully in the fish poo, and therefore a lot of it is not metabolized thoroughly. And the vitamins that like a fish would get from insect protein versus from like whey or corn or soy, lecithin protein or something, that and the nutrients attached to it on a molecular level definitely more make it through with the processed crap, but not your fish aren't getting as good at nutrients. So it's kind of a catch-22. There's a lot more waste debris and organic debris that is volatile and can become, this is what, mulm is good if it's made of good stuff. If it's all made of flake fish food, it's not necessarily good. If the flake fish food is just filler, you're going to have really crappy mulm that's terrible for at least 6 months to a year until bacteria, fungi, and snails and shrimp and this and that work through it tirelessly and break it down into something that resembles like a humus or a substrate. Okay, Amy, thanks for your advice and positivity. Well, thank you. That is so kind of you. I really do appreciate it. I don't know that I gave any useful advice today yet, but today I was going to give you guys some updates, and I still need to do that. So we're going to do that. Do you add? Okay, no. Hi, baby girl. What you doing? Hi, baby girl. Blame it on the fertilizer, blame it on the moonlight, blame it on the boogie. Let's see here. Also, Johnny Best coming in with guest memberships. Thank you so much, Johnny. The cat, Sumi, says she appreciates it. Right, Sumi? Say you appreciate it. Okay, well, that's how she speaks. She purrs. Maybe you guys heard that. I don't know if you guys could hear that. Meow meow. But that's what she had to say about it. So thank you, Johnny. I appreciate that. I appreciate all y'all. Let's see here. Yeah, I like extreme pellets too. I think those are pretty good for a dry food. I think also like the cold pressed krill flakes. That's another great one. I have cat hair on my tongue. Was that you? Did you do that? Did I do that? So what I was going to tell you guys is they're at it again, you guys. We're going to have to form a united front. We're going to have to unite the Autobots, as it were. So the dum-dums in freaking Arizona are trying to outlaw, blacklist, as it were, 3 entire families of fish, including the one that includes the Borneo glass catfish. Yeah, the little tiny glass X-ray catfish or ghost catfish. That one. Suliforms. They want to get rid of all suliforms. That means, yeah, catfish. Like all the big catfish, all the squeakers, the Raphael cats, the walking cats. They could probably get rid of those. But what I don't understand is, so they have arowanas and all forms of arowanas, the whole family of arowanas. They're trying to pass legislation right now in Arizona for all that. And they basically just stole the same exact wording that California tried to pass 12 years ago the first time. Then Florida tried to pass it 3 years ago. California tried it like 3 or 4 times. And they tried in Florida, Rubio along with Marco Rubio and Nancy Pelosi at the time were trying to do like an across the aisle, Republicans and Democrats come together to ruin the aquarium hobby type thing, where they wanted to make it illegal for all fish unless they were approved and had been imported in the last year in numbers high enough to be economically it was really vague wording, but they said like economically substantial, which what does that mean? Is economically substantial like $1,000? Is that 50,000? Is it $1 million? Like We don't know. And it doesn't say. And then what they wanted was they wanted a paper done. And when you do the research, you found out that the IUCN report quality level that they want done costs over $100,000 to do on average for each species. So like to find out if the neon tetra is endangered and to write up its entire, obviously the existing taxonomy, but the holotype, the neotype, going over the different varieties, going over its entire range, and then trying to come up with information and survey data from the fishery department at the scene in the wild, as well as a breakdown of the ornamental, food, and byproduct market. It's absolutely crazy. So anyways, I don't think it's going to pass, but the organization used to be known as PJAC. Let me pull this up for you guys. The organization used to be called PJAC, and that was the big organization that was set up as a lobbyist group by Petco, PetSmart, Central Pet, you name it. Anybody in the reptile, fish, bird, all of that. Anybody in those fields. And I thought, and maybe I will for tomorrow or something. Thought about making a video about this specifically, but I don't honestly think it's something I need to fearmonger about. But it is something we need to be very aware of, that this just keeps coming up, and literally they're so lazy and unthoughtful, and they don't consult true experts to the point where like they're going to ban red-tail catfish. Maybe they should. I don't know if I care if that happens. So say they ban red-tail catfish. Fine, whatever. But then like they ban the family of fish that they're in, and it's like all of a sudden now, what else did you ban? Like little squeaker catfish and like certain farowellas. Like, I mean, they're not loricaridae or anything like that, but I'm just saying, like, it is, they don't think about these things in any scientific sort of way. Also, aquatic life, hello. Do you have any tips for breeding bristlenose when they refuse to breed no matter what you do? Yeah, you're going to need soft water, ideally. And what you do is you start them off in fairly soft water with good flow, good oxygen. Then you let the water get a little bit harder. You add some crushed coral. And over about 2 weeks to a month, you also every week crank the temperature up another 2 degrees. So start at like 76 and go all the way up to like 84 or something like that. And this will simulate the sun beating down in the dry season. Also, when you turn the heat up, more water will evaporate if you don't have a lid, and the water will go down. If it's not going down, you can take out something like, if it's a 40 breeder, for instance, that your bristlenose are in, then take it out and take water out to the tune of like maybe half an inch to an inch of water if it was full a week. And then for 4 weeks, start it at the top and let it come down 4 or 5 inches. So the heat's going up, the total dissolved solids are increasing, so the water's getting harder. Then start turning down your power head the last week. But start feeding them really good, either frozen or live food. Ideally, if you can get blackworms that are alive, that's a great trigger, because fish, I say this time and time again in all my videos for breeding, but fish don't just breed when there's food that's abundant for them to make the protein that becomes the eggs and becomes the muscle and semen and all that stuff, the egg and the reproductive cells and the color of spawning and the muscle mass and all the dancing and activity that goes on. Yes, that does require food, and you do need to feed the adults that. But the part that a lot of people miss is that for a week or two, you also need to feed them food, or at least show them a little bit of it. Just give them a little taste, a little show of the food, like vinegar eels or blackworms that the babies are going to eat when they have enveloped their egg sac and they're like 5 to 8 days old after being hatched. They're going to eat algae. They're going to eat biofilm. So that's also a mature tank will serve the same function as well. The other thing that can help is having something like corydoras or angelfish or, you know, cribs or rams or anything that's breeding in a tank. Take a half gallon of water, to get a big old bowl of water and just scoop it out of their tank and pour it into the bristlenose tank when you want to trigger their spawning. They're very sensitive to hormones, which is actually, I've got some news to tell you that's kind of big news, but we'll get to that. So you do that, and then all of a sudden, so now you got this tank, and it's mimicking basically the heat of the dry season. The water's gone down because the rains haven't come. There's been no rains in the rainforest now, and fish are flopping around on mud, and the forest is no longer flooded. The waters have receded back to their creeks, lakes, and the main river channels. And all of a sudden, there will be a massive low pressure front that comes in, and it always is ozone, which you can create that. Some people even go this far as like running some water in their shower in the other room, and, you know, keeping the doors open, or you know, running an AC unit. There's just a few different ways, but any way you can get particleized water droplets in the air, plus the low pressure. It's really, low pressure is way more important. So if you live somewhere like the South or Texas, you know, or Georgia, or even maybe like Chicago or the Midwest this time of year, New York, even East Coast, if you see an afternoon or evening storm, like, you know, there's going to be a big heat lightning event, that's a great time to all of a sudden you take about another quarter of the water out of the tank. So now the water, only half the water is in the tank. The TDS is 250 parts per million. The pH is 7.5. And all of a sudden you put in 6.5 or 7.0, just water with nothing in it. Maybe a little bit of botanical leaf matter in it if you want to prime it ahead of time. But you're going to basically create that downpour of the monsoon and wet season starting, because when it starts on the equatorial regions, it's not like, oh, rainstorm for the afternoon and now it's over. No, it's like weeks and weeks and weeks of pouring rain usually, and that's when the fish start getting frisky, and the insects and everything start laying their eggs again, and the mosquitoes and all that. And then the fish, there's ozone, there's oxygen in the water because the surface area is splashing around, the water's flowing, you can turn a power head back on. But that is when the fish will try to match up, is during that. You can Google more ways to fake or replicate a wet season, but that's what you want to do. That's really the thing you want to do. Keeping the lights a little dimmer, that can help, but, you know, feeding them good, that can help. Yeah, snake heads, I wish we could still keep those. Also, Jay Zandra, thank you so much for the super sticker, my guy. I appreciate it. Ace, phantom flame guppies for sale. Interesting. I'm curious to see as to what they look like. Also, I missed another super duper oopa chat. Where did the super duper oopa chat? Adam Wiley, or Weil, I think it's Wiley. The angelfish here, that's actually a dark bluish green, was from Ukraine. I got 5 of them. Well, actually, like 40 came in. And out of the 40, I think 32 of them passed away in total. I had 4 that passed away about a month after I got them, maybe 2 months after I got them. And then the other one lasted maybe 4 or 5 months total, but never figured out what did it. And I don't think it was stress, because that usually happens way quicker And these things looked beautiful. They were eating. They actually were doing spawning activity. They lay eggs twice for me. So they paired off. I mean, it was incredible. Like, I was like, yes. So whatever happened, I think was like a viral or bacterial type thing that must have come in with them and just taken them down. And it was like hard, or something really shocking in the tank occurred. Like that same summer was when I lost power. We lost it like 10 times, and it would just kill everything, and then the tank would restart and it would go to fast heat, and then the tank would heat up a little too hot to like 90 degrees, and then it would obviously stop, but then it would sit there until it just cooled down. But if it's a hot day outside and I didn't have AC, which was the case for a while, the tanks would get too hot, have to throw ice. There was a whole thing. But the wild story about that is that while in Lviv, Ukraine, they were breeding them indoors in indoor ponds and pools in this like atrium, and they were once breeding shellfish and also processing some form of caviar production, in the sense that I think they had sturgeon and beluga caviar like that they'd bring to the Russian market. But I think what they were doing is they had Amur River, if I recall, beluga sturgeon, and they had them as fry and babies, and they were inoculating, or not inoculating, they were in vitro and like breeding them because they're very endangered, and they're trying to get more babies to make it all the way from the Sea of Japan and the Sea of China all the way up in through Manchuria and up the Amur River and into past what Kamchatka and all that stuff up there. But the other wild thing that let's see here, blah 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 blah. I missed. Where did that go? How? Rip Aussie. Yeah, I know, that is a bummer. So how did I miss? Oh, I guess it was 3G gave me another $1.99 super chat, but it doesn't show up anywhere on my actual thing. Just has a little note about it. But 3G, thank you. I really do appreciate that. You are a true King Pleco among corridors. Oh man. Every once in a while I just love like gulping a soda once it's kind of gotten a little flatter. It's still cold. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, Emily, I did see that too. That is a pretty. Hey Craig, what's going on? Good to see you, Craig. Good day, mate. Um, Not related, but how about the in vitro? Yeah, was that the UK? They made a baby with 3 gametes, right? Wasn't it? Or was it 3 crown? No, yeah, it was 3 gametes and DNA material from 3 humans, and they had a healthy baby that has no genetic abnormalities, in the sense that that third person, the DNA is able to be checked against. So just like RNA checks for copying errors, they were able to use the third set of DNA as another set of copying errors, and then triangulate that with the normal set of the way that, like, through reproduction, we already check for any like egregious copying errors and try to fix it with the way we're made. But very wild how that works. Yeah. I heard there was a new species of shark fossil. They found 2 new shark fossil species. They also found a new baby shark, as they call them, or dwarf shark, mini shark, that only gets to around 4 feet and has these big eyes. It's a deep water shark. But I did see that they have Panda Man. Hello, welcome. Come on in. Come on in. Said, come on in to the Panda Man show now. So yeah, they have that going on, which is pretty wild. But I was gonna pull this up, going back to the thing, because I can't apparently ever can't stick to one thing because I'm an insane person. All right. So wait, what? Okay. So African Danyonins, I don't know what those are, but I need them, I'm guessing. Sorry, guys. What I was going to look at, though, is Pet Advocacy Group calls for end to tariffs on fish. 30% tariff minimum on all fish that are live. It doesn't make sense to tariff fish. Even if you are all for the tariffs that are happening now, hey, Mark E. McFly, what's going on, man? The whole thing that they're trying to say for the fish business is it doesn't make sense if they're wild caught rare fish. Why would tariffs help anything? That you can't source them from the US. There is no competition in the US for those species. Now you could say, well, then if people can't get a pleco, they'll buy I don't know what, a channel catfish. Yeah, right. I think it's a pretty poor explanation, but check this out. So, my favorite, the clear ghost cats, the ones that I have, the Malay kind. There's also the Borneo kind, but these Cryptopterus vitriolus, as they're known, beautiful fish. Cute, right? Well, not if Arizona gets its druthers. Hell no. They said not in our state, which is, so P-Jack used to be like the pet, I don't know, Pet Joker's initiative. I don't know what the hell it stood for. I'm sorry, guys. But now it has changed its name to Pet Advocacy Network, which is PAN, which is, come on, guys. Who is working on your marketing? Hire me, please. I will come up with anything better. Can't we get it to say fish or pet? We had to go with PAN. We couldn't go with pet, really. We couldn't get that acronym together somehow. But Pet Advocacy Network was better. So the PAN is what it is. Anyways, so the Arizona Game and Fish Department is pushing back against changes to the Arizona Administrative Code that would prohibit popular species of pet fish from being owned in the state. Invasive species policies must be science-based, and the state has not met that burden here, said Sandy Moore, the CEO of the Pet Advocacy Network. So this is a company that gets hired and they do all the lobbying work, pretty much all of it. There's also a Fish Farmers of America, which is basically Fish Farmers of Florida. And then there's also university ornamental fish, research in ornamental and basically it's like zebra danios and lab mice, all the little critters that get used for research, but basically like saying, hey, we need to keep these things legal because we need to use them for research and stuff. Anyways, doesn't matter. These states should flush these unjust restrictions down the toilet. Man, tough talk by Sandy Moore. Woo! Kind of sounds like Sandy of Seagrest, who used to do stuff in that realm. And I wonder if she got married. Anyways, so this would impact even like the silver arowana or like the Giardini, and this is the Osteoglossidae. So being dumb as this is, they say that they don't want any of the Sulariidae or I can never say it plurally. Anyways, the bunch of catfish. It's mostly catfish, guys. It's whiskery catfish. And then the Suliforms. And then the Pimelididae. And then the Osteoglossidae. Okay. So the Pimladidae, that's just going to be more catfish. This is like all targeted at catfish, but let's take a look at this. Also, I don't think it's gonna pass. This again, though, an aquatics expert who is the director of the policy and strategy for U.S. ARC as a member of the advisory board for the National Animal Interest Alliance, testified, and there's a link to their testimony there. There is a public hearing for the Arizona Fish and Game Commission September 5th. So if you're in Arizona, get a hold of them. And if you feel like saying something either way, go to this website here, this press at petadvocacy.org. And this is all on the Amazonas Magazine website if you want to read this article. But yeah, the Pet Advocacy Network, that's their, oh, and great. So their website is not the Pet Advocacy Network, it's petadvocacy.org. Was the other one taken? I mean, seriously? God, guys, like seriously, I need to help them with their marketing. But yeah, it's like arowana. And I think, okay, arowana, I get it. I think that, arowana should be probably controlled, or maybe, like CITES control, like we should have certain licenses that you need to get to have one, and you have to buy it. And then when you buy the license, it goes back towards preservation, which buys more land in like, Thailand or Vietnam, like they're doing in Singapore and some of the farms and stuff. I think that's pretty cool. Also with like bettas, they're trying now to reintroduce bettas to land they've bought in Thailand, like bogland, marshland, peat moss, old growth peat moss forests. And they're allowing the private company to buy like 100 acres or whatever, the government, or lease it for 99 years in the case of some countries. And then basically they're saying it's listing it as agricultural if they can't get it listed as protected. And they're not even saying what it's for. They're hiding its true use. And only the people in charge know that they have released, say, 500, 600, 700 bettas into a pond, that's on this 100-acre piece of property. So that is something that has gone on now several times. Castle Dawn is another one of the betta rescuing kind of places where they sell them. They breed them in a farm, or whatever you want to call it, like a breeding facility that's high tech indoors, yada yada. They're selling the wild style of genetic and they look wild. They're like F2, F3. And then the truly wild ones, there are a few species now that literally are only known to exist in one location of the bettas. Out of the 78 bettas as of the last publication of the IUCN thing, from that publication till now there's 97. So there was 78, it went to 97 species in less than 10 years, 8 years. And now we also have like bettas that don't have a species name yet, but they have a marker number amongst betta enthusiasts and betta scientists. And like, for instance, the jade betta, absolutely extremely popular the last 3 years in the pet trade. People were going to this one, it's not, I don't even know if I could call it a lake. It's like the size of a large like Costco parking lot. It's sad. On an island in Indonesia. And they were going and collecting these little bettas and collecting 3, 4, 500 of them at a go each time. And there were maybe 7 or 8 guys who knew of where these were and were kind of in on kind of forming a little bit of a like cartel where they got these bettas and were selling them, and they were just selling them as a wild jade betta, and they were going for like $50 US for the females, I want to say, and like 100 or 120 for the males if they were going direct. But sometimes they were going wholesale for like as cheap as $20 a fish. And this was the last of a species that didn't even have a name yet. And it now, as of last month, it now has a species name. It's the Isusis. I don't know how to say it. Jade betta. Yeah, it's the Persephone betta, but it used to be called the color morph jade, because some of them are wildly different looking. I mean, just like a poodle and a Great Dane, or I mean, a teacup poodle and a Great Dane are the same species still technically. Don't mean they look so similar, which makes it kind of confusing. But yeah, so hi, baby girl. Hi. I love you too. I know. Daddy has a show he's got to put on now. Ow. Daddy's got a show he's got to put on. So, the other thing that I was going to tell you guys, there was some other news. Oh, right. So the other big news that we have here, yet again, I thought, could I do a standalone episode of this, or should I just bust it out in the live stream? And I said, what should I do, Sumi? And she said, bust it out. I need to get her to talk like Mr. Ed. I need to figure out what little bit of peanut butter, or I wouldn't put peanut butter in my cat's mouth, tuna, I don't know what, makes her go like, so I can get her to talk and do skits with me, right? Isn't that right, honey? Isn't that right, honey? Right? She's just going to be like, bat. Anyways, so what was I gonna say? Oh, right. So the other thing that I was gonna tell you that they're doing in the law, in the FDA just cleared the way, which really surprised me. Maybe it shouldn't. Under the Trump administration, I think the what do you call it? The regulation obviously is assumed to be more lax than in the past, and in this case, I think that's what went on here. But maybe this has been in the works for a while, so I shouldn't ascribe it to that right away. But for all I care, great, like cool. I'm stoked about it. But what it is now the Fish Farmers Union, what are they? The IAFLU, I think they're called. The I don't know. It's like the Florida Aquaculture Farmers Union. Man, I just butchered. I don't know what it is. I lost it. I had the acronym in my head, but I forgot it. Anyways, it's where you buy things like gold pearl and brine shrimp and cement lined ponds and things. They have like a store down in Ruskin by Tampa and Lakeland, and you can go in there and you can buy a bunch of stuff. But it's open to the public too. But you think to buy certain things you have to be a member, and you can buy all these different thingy-majigs that are kind of just aquarium or veterinarian grade, and they sell, like, for instance, golden pearls, rapashi, stuff that like you feed like coral reef animals, or antibiotics, any sort of medication you could dream of. And then the other piece of it that's kind of interesting is they just started selling legally speaking. Now, they were allowed to before, in certain conditions. They could sell this stuff, and I want to get the name right, but it is rolling, keep those doggies rolling, rawhide, having fish, making fish, having fish, making fish, fish ovulating drug. So there's this fish, GNRH, Ovaprim or Ovaprime, depending on where you are in the world, what it's called. But it is it's like human growth hormone. It's gonadotropin releasing hormone, and it is a domperidone analog, but it is it triggers the final maturation of eggs, and then the hormonal release of the ovo. So there's oviducts, ovoglands, ovopores. So so basically, this stuff, Ovaprim is the brand name, but it's a GNRH is the name of it, as a class of drugs. It's fish steroids, and they use it in China. They use it for like arowana breeding. They use it for clown loaches and bleeding heart tetras, for stuff that like they can't get to spawn very well, or they only spawn once a year, and that just ain't going to cut it for their business model. Okay. And while the US has still said, okay, well, we don't want this allowed in our food sources, so we're not going to okay this for tilapia or like crayfish, crawfish, crawdads, mud bugs, whatever you want to call them. They did say it's okay in ornamental fish. If they're not going to be consumed, it's okay. That was the old rule. Now you can actually render them into other products. You can even render them into other ingredients, but they cannot be sold. The fish that have been treated with this thing that basically sends them all the way through puberty, all the way through maturity and spawning season. And then like it depends on the fish, but they swell up, and then they literally either make a little incision, or more often than not, they can just push on the belly and all these eggs come out. They do this with caviar in parts of the world. They do this with like salmon. They'll do this with like one or two females that are their favorite or best, biggest females of a fish. A lot of times they'll squeeze them, and then their belly, they'll have literally 1,000 eggs, or 5,000, 10,000, 50,000 eggs, depends on the fish. Like a gar or something can have a ton. And then from there, they can take that and they can get the same result from the males by giving them the same freaking medication. And they can get their milt, as it's called in the fish world. And they, depending on the system used, they either just mix that in the water and stir it around with it, or they put it right onto the eggs, or there's a number of ways they've worked it out. But it's been going on in Asia for a long time, and also it's suspected to be how a lot of stuff has occurred in like flower horns and parrots and parrot cichlids and stuff like that, where they're hybrids that normally can't reproduce. This is a trick to push through that sometimes. So very interesting. And then beyond that, there's in vitro. And if you in vitro implant a pre-fertilized egg from two species that normally wouldn't be at the same time, in the same environments, the same, even I don't know how far we could get them apart as far as genetics go, but they got a paddlefish and a sturgeon to have a baby several years ago. And I think I'll end tonight's stream on that note. So paddle fish. I want to show you guys what a paddlefish looks like because they're freaky looking and very cool. And if I had all the money in the world, I might set up an aquarium for one of these weirdos. So the paddlefish, very, very strange creature. Slightly a monster of my dreams. And then here we go, North Dakota paddlefish. There's a number of them around the world, species-wise, and usually they're a little skinnier like this. But yeah, they have these long, long paddle noses that we see here. And they are a very ancient type of fish. You can see they've got that bony armor. They are not, I don't believe, any of the oh, there's babies, little tiny babies. They're not ray or lobed finned or bone finned fish like carp or cyprinids or any of that. So then you guys know, of course, what a sturgeon looks like, a white sturgeon or a green sturgeon, most common. But they have these plates. They're an ancient looking fish too. They also evolved 450 million years ago when the coelacanth was roaming the world happily, and lungfish and electric eels and bichers were all still kind of duking it out for who's going to be the one who's the most popular. And it turned out to be just good old fish. But sturtlefish, watch this freaky deaky thing. So what happens when you cross a sturgeon with a paddlefish? You get a sturtlefish, hybrid sturtlefish. And then you better make sure that it happened. So you better do it about 500 more times just to make sure. There's the Russian sturgeon. There's the sturtlefish. Here's the American paddlefish. Look at that. It looks like a sword. I mean, it looks like a narwhal or something. It's wild. Anyways, yeah, that's done with the steroids, fish steroids. They'll do the body good. Hey, Johnny, thank you so much, bud. Again, as always, helping out the channel, throwing down the paper so we can keep on chug-a-lugging. Chug-a-lug, chug-a-lug. Want to make you holler, hidey-ho. Burns your tummy, don't you know? There's a burst time for everything, go. Chug-a-lug, chug-a-lug. All right, let's see here. We found out when we came back there was a hybrid of a lane yellowtail snapper caught. Took a trip. It lasted divided by 0. Reviewed our fish. We found out when we came back there was a hybrid. Wow, interesting. Man, there are so many odd things. Odd things. I saw a picture of a sturgeon that was 20 feet. Yeah, let me show you this. Let me show you what the Russian ones used to look like. Yeah, Snake River ones got pretty big too, the Columbia, but largest sturgeon. There is a phenomenal post. I posted it for sure to members, but it is on another channel, and it is on an ancient culture. I mean, look at this. That's one dude, and this is an average sturgeon here back in the day. But they got absolutely bonkers where, I mean, you're looking at a 26 pound or 26 foot fish, something like 10 meters and 7,000 pounds as what, 3,500, 4,000 kilos. Really insane. And yet, these fish probably were living to a couple hundred years old, if not more, and now they're kind of dying out. The biggest of the big, even though people are, doing catch and release. They are quite magnificent. I have definitely been on boats with my dad when we were fishing for sturgeon and stuff in the water in the Columbia River Gorge, and also the Snake River growing up in the Northwest. Some are real goofy looking, beluga sturgeon, I think, are goofy looking, whereas the, here's another beluga sturgeon from above, less goofy, but still not the most regal creature in my mind. I prefer the ones that have this kind of look with the scale. Oh, that's still. Yeah, these kind of like with the armor and stuff, a little more worked out with the plates and stuff. Pretty wild. But yeah, I mean, here's another picture with a bunch of guys. That's not even that long one. That's probably what? Tatarstan. That might be some BS. I don't know. But it is 1921. It weighed. It's on Reddit, so I don't know if it's true or not, but whatever. They are the biggest freshwater fish easily in the world, I believe. It still holds the title for that. But then everybody goes to the next closest thing. And these guys are not exclusively just freshwater either. They do tend to migrate up and down the rivers and stuff. Some of them are totally freshwater and stay that way, but yeah, I'm just throwing that out there. Anyhow, so pretty wild, pretty wild. Oh, hey, look at who we have here. Adam Ragosia. Good to see you, my friend. Thank you so much for the super sticker. It was very, very kind. And, you keep the lights on. I was going to have to sell my fish growth hormone do-it-yourself kit at home. And, I think I'll hold off for another week. Thank you so much, though. Guys, if you don't know who Adam is, you're crazy. You've been living under a rock, or quite possibly in a fish room. So no shame there. But he is a phenomenal fish focus. No, he's not just fish. I like his fish content that he started recently, last 2 years. But he is a food and culture and history and science and chemistry and culture and sociology and research focused channel that focuses on culinary stuff. And he is very, very good at what he does. And he, along with a few other select channels and creators and shows or podcasts over my life's experience, really did inspire me to have a version of whatever it was they were doing in their realm created for fish. And the academic sources, the coming at it with a bit of fun, a bit of current news and events, a bit of the context of the history, open-minded, bringing in experts, things like that. Very much so, I look up to him and leave the shameless commerce to me. But definitely check out his channel if you like cooking or the history therein of and the context therein of, which is, I think, a lot of interesting stuff. But good to see you, buddy. Also, so we had the news tonight of them wanting to outlaw all those fish in Arizona. Now, what the most frustrating part about that Arizona law is that even Arizona Fish and Game, Fish and Wildlife, they're saying, we don't want these fish outlawed. The legislator legislation, blah, blah, blah. The the lawmakers want to. Yes, honey, I see you. I get it. You are here. You want to be heard. You want to say hi to Adam. Say hi, Adam. Hi, Adam. But yeah, the legislators wanted to have this law, which yes, nobody needs. I would say, you should have to get a special permit to get a 400-pound red tail catfish. I agree. They shouldn't sell that at Petco or PetSmart or anywhere really. That's like $6. Um, that scare you? That scare you? You hear your own voice? Um, she heard it through my headphones, I think. But anyways, yeah. So she always acts, guys. She acts like, don't torture me, don't torture me. You're so mean, Daddy. You're torturing me. She's right here. She hasn't gone anywhere. She's just sitting right here. And then she'll just slowly encroach on whatever it is I'm doing for the rest of the live stream. Like just take her paw and knock things off the counter and unplug cords and yeah. But so what I was going to say though is the it doesn't even make sense, the fish that they're banning for the most part. Now you could argue that there is sense to be made about banning a red-tailed catfish, but like what about like this would talk about like Synodontis catfish, Raphael catfish, squeaker catfish, giraffe catfish. Granted, who else needs a giraffe or a shovel nose or a flat nose catfish? Probably nobody realistically, but like wood cats, those shouldn't be stopped. And beyond all of this, the main thing is to get it re-legalized or allowed. It's $1 million or $100,000. I mean, even say it's $50,000. Okay. The estimate was over $100,000 for each species, and that's for species already known that already have like a baseline with the IUCN and a standing. A lot of these don't have that, and there's new species being found all the time. So it's very, very, frustrating to have to be proving over and over again new species, let's do this research. Nobody's going to pay for that. We can't pay for the species that are out there. There's plecos, there's apistogrammas, there's bettas. Like I just mentioned, there was a 28 species backlog of bettas that were either endangered, extinct in the wild, or endangered, critically endangered, or extinct in the wild. And the IUCN didn't even have any of that info because their last assessment was in the year 2001 or whatever, the year 2000. And then that got published end of 2001. Yeah, let's see here. What is Adam saying here? Dude, I'm in the greenhouse and I heard a thunk. Looked over and my big Mexican crayfish was crawling along the floor. Yeah, that guy, lucky crayfish indeed. You know, I've had crayfish, literally crayfish, leprinus or leopard crabs, panther crabs, get up out of their tank, leave, and be gone for like 2 weeks. And all of a sudden, the cat will come in with something in her mouth and she can't get through it or anything. At this point, you know, you're thinking, oh my gosh, that is so gross. You have a dead crab in your mouth. No, live, and it's biting at her. I actually have a video of when that crab escaped, and I'm in the living room and I'm like, hey, honey, what are you playing with, to the cat? And it's late at night and I saw what it was. So I just started to film and then played dumb for a second again. Got it all on camera, you know? But it's under my shorts from maybe six months ago or so. But that crab, I will never keep those crabs again. That thing got huge. It started like yay big, and I knew they could get 2 to 3 inches. This thing got like 4, maybe even 5 inches, the shell. Then there's the arms. And it would get up and out of its tank right up the side of the glass. I don't know how, but in a 5-gallon tank, it could wedge itself up the glass, like some sort of, I don't know, matrix type thing. Ugh. But did the panther crab find water somewhere in the house? So a lot of those crabs and snails and crayfish, little do we know, or little did I know until I did a lot of research, many species of them actually are able to enter what's called torpor. So if they know they're in trouble, if they know like, oh, I got out of my tank, I don't see any sort of water around for a while, they can pull into their shell and hunker down in the corner of the room. And if they have mud, they can be good for like 6 to 9 months very easily. If they don't even have that, there are some species that can totally tuck into their shells. There are also some that will drop off all but like 2 legs and 2 pinchers, and will like tighten them off, and they go into a suspended animation that is so slowed down, and that they actually use not the iron in their blood as oxygen to breathe and to break the oxygen molecules off of, like we do and most living things. They'll use copper. So they go into a whole other metabolic state. It's like photosynthesis almost or something. But no, it's how like also things can go down into anoxic layers of mud at the bottom of like a lake or a river, or under the ice during like how fish do that. They either have like, some sort of antifreeze. So they always have to, if it's a cold thing, it has to have something to prevent ice crystals from breaking either cell membranes or cell walls, because the ice crystals will do that, will poke holes in them. But as long as there's no ice, if it's just drying out, there are plecos, there are bettas, there are crabs, there are crayfish, there are snails, there are all sorts of things that have tricks. And you would swear the plecos or the catfish, especially in Southeast Asia, there's quite a few of them, where you would look at that fish and you would say, that is dead. That is a 2-foot long giant catfish, and that is dead. And it's under the mud. And people will dig with sticks, and the mud's just barely damp, looks like thick clay maybe. And all of a sudden they hose it off or put it in a bucket, and within maybe 4 hours, its eyes swell back up with fluid. It can see, its belly's back out, and it is wild. But I don't know where the panther crab was. I do have a very small house. So I'm guessing what it did was it hung out in the humid fish room and probably ate like food pellets that had fallen behind the aquariums and stuff down the rack. That's my guess. Snakeheads are another good example. Yeah, totally. Walking perch, snakeheads. Some of them can go like a kilometer, 2-3 kilometers from water and not be in water. And they can be out for like 2 days, 3 days. If it is 80 or 90% humidity, like a day in the tropics, some of them can just indefinitely live outside of the water. Like splash tetras can do quite a bit of interesting stuff like that. They're not the best example, but mangrove killifish, they're insane. They can hop out of the water, climb up into a log that has peat moss or something, and if the humidity stays at like 80%, they can live there. There's a new fish that was discovered at the beginning of 2025. It will be written up at the end of the year. They'll do a big thing on it, but it's already been written up a few times. But it's a new fish that doesn't live in the water at all. Now, some people will use that smartass adage of like, we're all fish. Like, how do you define a fish? And yes, scientifically, fish are really problematic in cataloging and describing and like categorizing, because any tetrapod that has a spinal cord, any vertebrate with 4 main appendages is a bony or lobe fish, kind of. And that's odd, because that means that like sharks are not fish. They're older than bony and lobed fish. Bichars, not fish. Lungfish, electric eels, not fish. Coelacanth, fish. But all the other things, reptiles, alligators, not fish because they're older. Turtles, not fish because they're older. But cat, fish, technically a fish. You, technically a fish by some standards. Hank Green has a good video on it that's like, we're all fish. And then he also has another one that says like, sharks aren't fish. Kitty, come back. You can blame it all on me. Kitty, come back. Yeah. Doesn't this fish dig tunnels? Yeah, divide by 0. Yeah, the new fish, it digs tunnels. I think it's in, I want to say Panama and Costa Rica. Might be wrong there. Look at all the hair she just got on me. But it lives in like the humus, in the very humusy ground, which is like a lot of peat moss and like mulm, basically, that falls from the forest floor, moss, aroid plants and things like that, rhizome plants, ferns, stuff like that, low light. But this fish can live out of water in moist substrate dirt, and it doesn't live in water. Yeah, that's the weird one now. And now the question is, how many of these things could exist? It looks like a worm. So they thought it was going to be one of those. And now I'm spacing on the name, but what are they called? I think it starts with a C. But they're the like armless lizards, or the snakes with arms. Is the other way to say it. Yes, thank you, Adam. I appreciate you. Sicilian. I might be saying that wrong, but yeah, those. There's a number of those, and those are really fascinating. And people have thought those are worms. People have thought those are snakes. People have thought they are like a grub or a larva. Well, this fish looks pretty similar to those things. And very, very wild. I mean, like, who would have thought to look there? So now it's like, where else should we look for fish? Are there like ice core fish? Are there, we know Danionellas are really small. Like, how small could they be? Is there something living in like tremors? Not to go too crazy, but yeah. I believe University of Florida, divided by 0, grew bichars under misters, and they not only live, but their bodies started changing. Yes. So that is a really interesting study. I love University of Florida, University of Southern Florida, also just the Florida Aquaculture Institute. I've gone and toured that several times. Shameless plug. Check out my old videos. Some are 8 years old, some are 6 years old, some are 3 years old. But I've gone down there now 3 or 4 times, and we've toured. I've shown feeding arapaima. I've shown the first firefish bred in captivity, the first powdered blue tang bred in captivity, sea anemones and different corals that had never been bred in captivity, the first hybridized figure 8 and green pufferfish, just a lot of cool stuff that I've been able to share with the channel through visiting them and through the relationship I've had with them. I actually had to sign an NDA and not tell anybody, because National Geographic and the person who was paying for the specific blue tangs to be bred in captivity had put over a few $1 million into the research, both yellow and Pacific blue tangs. But I had footage on a phone of all things. They wouldn't let me film it on like a nice camera, like a Canon or anything, like a DSLR or a mirrorless camera or anything. But they let me film it on my phone, which was 1080p, so good enough. But then I wasn't allowed to I wasn't allowed to show anybody for like 4 years until National Geographic had their magazine out for 2 weeks, and the other guy had made the speech at some ceremony. Then they're like, "You can make your video now," which was wild because I had totally forgotten like that that was even a thing that I was gonna do because that's just so out of sight, out of mind. But yeah, they're really cool. They do a lot of interesting stuff there, and they're one of the best like funded institutes in that farmers in Florida go there. Ornamental fish farmers, food fish farmers, maybe there's a guy trying to make wallets out of fish skin of different kinds. And he wanted to know what is the best process to create a high tensile strength fish leather. Well, that is what that entire facility and organization, the aquacultural, Florida Aquaculture Lab, that's what they're there for. And if somebody says, I want to breed panda loaches, but I don't know how, it's their job to try to breed them and then come up with a protocol and then give that to anybody who's a part of the business and agricultural community in Florida. And it's a very, very cool program. I mean, that's very neat in my mind. That's a neat way to do it. And same with if they have like an illness, if something is ill and, there's some illness going around and the normal treatment's not working, or it looks unlike anything else, or if it's just, for that matter, any old thing, they can drop off a fish, they can drop off a sample of water any day of the week. They can get info back, and they have a full-on biohazard. Like, I think there's like 5 levels of severity of it, but theirs is like a 3 out of 5. So it's a pretty serious. Like they'll handle like airborne fish disease, like the one in the 90s that killed all the angelfish that went airborne, like on people's clothing and stuff from fish lab to fish lab. They had to cull like 5-6 million angelfish in all of Florida because of that. That's one of the more wild stories. I'd love to do like a mini documentary on that because it's almost forgotten already, and there's not a lot of media on that. Nobody like did a good write-up on it. It was kind of a secret at the time because they didn't really want everyone to know that like there was this problem that could go airborne like that. Like it was like ick that had gone airborne, but even more severe. And they didn't know how to fix it at first, and they ended up just culling all the fish, and that was also really scary. But anyways, it worked out. They cleared it out, and then it hasn't ever come back. But it could, something like that could. You never know with bacteria, fungi, archaea, protists. There's lots of nasties out there. Fishery, any idea how to breed Phoenix rasboras? Yeah, I have a video on it, I believe. I should. Should be a video on it on my channel. I breed them in a 2.5 gallon generally. And I do the false wet season. The most important thing with them, again, infusoria, microcrustaceans like ostracods, or as they're known, seed shrimp, the infusoria or green water, adding that with like a pipette, add that into the water, swirl it around. That is what is ideal for the babies the parents to see and know, oh, I can have babies now because the babies have food. But also it's cheap, it's easy. What I do is I tend to set up these low pH black water. I add a bunch of ripped up almond leaves, maybe some alder cones, maybe an oak leaf that's dried out, maybe a piece of wood, and then maybe some Java moss or Java fern or Bobitus hedulata or something, like maybe a couple floating plants like water lettuce, and I'll put that in either a 2.5 or 5 or 10 gallon, and then I will just let it be, and I'll let the little microorganisms populate it. So I'll take the test tube, and I'll take my culture that I started on the windowsill of infusoria made from like broccoli or leaves that I are 80 degrees in the window, sitting there getting putrefied and rotting for 4 or 5 days. You take that milky water that you look at in the sun, and when it's got all the little white dots in it that look like, I don't know, debris, but when you notice the debris is actually kind of moving and they're all doing little like things, that's like, boom, that's infusoria, that's parameciums. Even better if you have a paramecium culture, or vinegar eel culture can work too. That's what's always worked for me. You then get the fish as fat as you can for 2 or 3 weeks. You give them all the live food, baby brine shrimp. You let them hang out in a 10-gallon tank. You get the females and males. You keep the light fairly dim, the water fairly acidic. You can do a fake out of the wet season, but it's not necessarily needed if you're going to switch them into a breeding chamber. You can just drop the pH even further in the breeding chamber, and by having maybe just a little bit of aqua soil at the bottom, or a little bit of like Brightwell buffering shrimp substrate, that will hold it like 6.8 pH or something. And then when you add botanicals, the acidity and the carbonic, nitric, and humic acid that comes from that will break down further in the water and bring the pH even lower. And Phoenix rasboras will spawn down in the like 4 to 6 pH is what they say. But 5 pH is where I had mine mostly spawning, 5.5. And then you just move the parents, put the parents in there, put lots of debris and stuff on the ground so that the parents are not going to see very well where they laid the eggs that they scattered. Like moss works really well, or sawasser like literally put down a layer that's like 2 or 3 inches thick. And that way, they don't it falls down in between the cracks. Basically, some people use marbles, some people use glass beads, other people use a mesh, and they hope that the eggs fall in between. But if you see eggs or not, it doesn't really matter. Usually after 2 to 5 days, somewhere in there, your call. You just play around with it. You pull all the adults out and put them back in their community tank, and then you're left with this tank that you just add a pipette of green water, a squirt here one day, squirt of infusoria the next day, and you just keep it dim, let it be. And usually you can come back. You could maybe use Bacter AE or something like that to help encourage the amino acids and stuff in there, will help encourage biofilms and stuff like that. But it's a pretty easy way to spawn most nanofish. You just won't get like massive numbers of them, really. You'll probably get 6 to 15 or something. Now get yourself a hold of that injectable Ovapreme, and you'll have lots of them. I don't know what's going on with the green screen. It's like erroring out. It's tripping out. It's tripping out, man. It's tripping out. Reality's coming crashing down, guys, which is probably our time to head out. All right, you guys, I appreciate you all coming by, hanging out. Colors, hello, by the way. Good to see you. And the One Who and Trina Fitzpatrick, also great to see y'all. Thank you for coming by. Also, Johnny Best gave another freaking fish membership. What a mensch. What an amazing dude. Thank you, guys, for the super chats, for the love, for spreading the love. If you guys got a new membership, like I always say, go to the community tab, go to the post tab, and check out what's new there. I also have posted both on the documents part of Discord and in the community posts or posts part of YouTube, new papers on all the fish of the Guianan Shield. So all the diversity of all the freshwater fish in the upper Guianan Shield river basin. Absolutely mind-blowing. 300 pages of pictures, of trivia, of fascinating info. Dr. Sosa Dr. Sosa came and same one I was talking about the other night. He's the one who also helped head that up, even though he's usually in Brazil, but he headed that up out of Guyana. And the last thing I was going to tell y'all, oh, there's another one like that same thing. So there's one for the Guianan Shield through the, what do they call it? The causeway, the wilderness causeway and nature preserve of, and then there's two river names that it's basically in between these two rivers. The place is they say in the article that it's the size of modern day Spain, I think is what they said, roughly. And it's just like, oh yeah, it's just a new chunk of land that we're gonna set aside on the Brazilian, like right on the edge of Brazil and Guyana and Suriname. Really cool. But yeah, guys, I am going to skiddy-a-dee-doo-doo-doo-doo-daddle. If you guys don't mind, I so appreciate it when you guys hit that like button. Subscribe, put the reminders on if they're not on for you. If you want them, if you don't want them, then Lord knows don't turn them on. I don't even know why you're here if you don't want them. And if you love my kitty, you know, pass it on to a friend. Tell them that my darling, I can't get enough of your love, cat. Boo-boo. Oh, I try so much, I try so hard. I can't get enough of your cat. So, anyways, guys, I am gonna skedaddle. Lee, hello. Sorry, I'm trying to read. Arbatis, the OG. Wait. I do love Scarlet Batis. I got two a few weeks ago, 2 males, 1 alpha, 1 up in the corner, and 1 that's bullying. I'll have to make sense of that later. I'm sorry. I can't make sense of that now. But you guys, thank you so much. If you're here, if you're watching, you're helping. If you guys come by the channel on your own and just watch, I don't know, even just let it play for an episode. If you don't got something better to do on your tablet, just let it play, listen to it in the other room, put it on mute. And, it helps the channel because lately things are going, and it's just not alerting anybody. And so I got to get that momentum back. Who knows what warlock or wizard or Stone of Destiny or Phoenix or I don't know, Frog's Eye I need to catch. And with that, it is my mommy, my Maja. So I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to hang out with my kitty and cook some dinner. You guys have a lovely night. Much love, and I'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye.